first reader to kick it off for us is Matty Lote. I think Matt has asked me to read it. So this is a lovely one to start with. This is called Gift of Christmas and by Matty Lote. It was Christmas time. There were blankets of soft snow and trinkets of icicles on every gatepost. There was a sharp crispness in the air. I drove carefully down the icy road. The street lights flicker as carolers sing merry tunes gleefully. As I pull up to the house with the red door, I sense a homely warmth. Children's laughter in harmony with the flashing lights and sweet aroma of freshly baked cookies. I open my car door to see an audience of smiling faces, a piano melody as we exchange introductions. This welcoming truly erupts as more people engage with this chorus, 100 hugs and dozens of handshakes. Finally, unladen my baggage from the car, entering the threshold of my new home, the next few days pass. Pleasantries and surfing hands over the fence, forever offering help and sharing kindness, breaking bread and drinking tea. My greatest Christmas gift wasn't the presents under my tree. It was the new family and neighbours I got to share it with. Thank you so much, Matty. That's a really beautiful poem. So next up, I've accidentally ended up reading 2 in a row now. Next up, we have a poem from Christine Stafford. Do you know what? So you don't get my voice all the time, I'll do that one afterwards. If it's okay, then we'll have our first reader that's not me, James Rose. James, are you there to read for us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Good. It's called Across the Street. The privets a disappointment. Brown patches in the green, so neatly clipped. An excess of fertilizer, much regretted. And there's moss in the lawn again. Across the way, grey hair hangs lank from crown to shoulders. Grass grows in the gravel of the garden path. Paint peels from the window frames, while the bees in her hives make honey. She longed for the teacher. Twill, tweed and brogues forgave him his pipe and deafness, but he never asked. And she cooks on her Aga called Albert, while the bees in her hives make honey. Sucking hard and cupping his ear, he moved away, possibly even married, but she never asked. And the roof trusses sag in the attic, while the bees in her hives make honey. Buddleia grows from the chimney bricks, smoke filtering through the leaves, silent as a crematorium, while the bees in her hives make honey.
Fantastic, thank you. Next up, Lorraine, please. Is Lorraine Umpanella here?
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm happy to be here. My poem is entitled Our Neighbours Were Our Neighbours. Our neighbours were not our strangers. So this is a letter I'm writing to my grandmother, and she's late now, but I'm just trying to remind her what our neighbours did when she was away. So the letter goes, Dear Babuya, I want to remind you what our neighbours did when you were away, whenever you left home. I can only look back and pat you on your back for the heaviest duties you accomplished. There is no doubt you left a big mark in your world, which is us, which is me. Grandma, you remember you were carrying goods such as bananas, oranges, mangoes, kadonosha on your head over 20 kilometers away from home to exchange for fish from the fishermen or to sell for little pennies. You would leave very early in the morning and come back in the evening. And all days were not Sundays, as they say. Sometimes you came home happier than other days. It is these days that when we were trying to find our bread and butter, to find our school fees, to find our clothes, that our neighbors were showing up for us. One would pass by to check if we have had a bath, another would come to check if we've eaten and what we have eaten, or if we were going to eat that day. Someone would check if we needed to fetch more water. Our neighbors were our neighbors. Our neighbors were not our strangers. Rabuya, I also want to tell you what happened when you were in hospital with one of your grandchildren, Kaze, who was admitted for having serious bouts of malaria. I was still little, but couldn't forget this moment. Tiwonge, one of my older sisters, also got sick from malaria when you were at the hospital looking after Kaze. I remember our neighbor carrying my sister to her house for close monitoring as she got worse and you could not be in two places. Our neighbors were our neighbors and our neighbors were not our strangers. I still remember Tiwonge opening her eyes and shutting. She was conversing and she got weak. She was lying on a mat on the veranda. Our neighbor tried home remedies to help her to stop the convulsions, but my sister was slow to respond, and the more she deteriorated. Our neighbors were not, our neighbors were our neighbors. Our neighbors were not our strangers. I was playing under the closest tangerine tree with other children there, and one of our male neighbors was trying to put my sister on his back so he could cycle to the hospital with her. My sister died at that moment. Our neighbors were our neighbors. Our neighbors were not our strangers. You trusted them and they trusted you. Hope I can find another opportunity soon to remind you how you also stepped up for our neighbors. Rest well, Grandma. Thank you.
That's beautiful and beautifully read, Lorraine. Thank you so much. You're starting to see why our job was so difficult now, but what a lovely event. Thank you.
I don't think Paul is here. It's a very long poem. I hope I can do it justice. So here we go. Pandemic portraits. On the edge of Dante's hell, what was once important? After that, it is no longer serious. Freedom and breathing return to having the value of life. Moreover, the true meaning of love and loving yourself. In addition, not even the conscience of science you can placate or resolve. What is that about? Money? Can I always buy? I choose not. The benefit of invisible, it is no longer laughable. Moreover, it changed the direction of humanity. In addition, many have lost immunity. After the planetary chaos, many return to God. Others remain atheists, and the survivors gave, very sadly, so many sorrowful goodbyes to ones loved. Neighbours danced around, the same fireplace to keep safe, the elders and children, the simple and the weak, the soul fragility of being in despair, isolated. They tried to support the lonely, unsaid, and the pain, as an awful liquid painting to portray. As ancient people from the woods, they danced to the gods of the mountains and rivers. Moreover, there were no gods to comfort them. There were no more drums to play. Public health worked non-stop, without much solving. In addition, deaths piled up on street corners, from every city on the planet, as our neighbours, our streets, our ceilings. Next door, next window, who's next? Isolation made everyone look, internal worlds, moreover to glimpse the eternal sky, and after so much pain, unpleasant portraits. Even so many worked out their sleeves to save miles. They found the way to help the volunteer with going to grocery shops, to pets' cares, and so on. The next door could mean more than just one piece of wood, the loss of value system. Worlds collapsed. Took a deep breath. Recorded what in the pandemic was silent after so much disgrace. What could bring life into the eyes again? Hope and faith gave the air of your grace. People opened the hearts to look into the eyes. People were back in the streets, in the square. The hugs could embrace the infinite joy of warm presence. Being together is an eternal circle of celebrating the stars we carry inside us. It is all about a constellation of lives, people, smiles, treasures, pleasures kindly reinforcing to unite communities. United, uno, one kind of hugs, humanity has rekindled, therefore learned. Whatsoever the world was reborn, we keep waiting the next phase. So, what's up? What's next door? That's the end.
Thank you, Dave. That's fantastic. Okay, fine. Next up, we've got Emmanuel Erima. Perfect. I can see Emmanuel, so I know he's here. Brilliant.
Okay, good afternoon all. The poem is called Neighbours. What good can come out from the lockdown but neighbours? The lockdown, not a knockdown. I laid in defeat. My neighbours stood me to my feet. In spite, my neighbours stood me to my feet. In spite of all the echoes, I have come to see skin may differ, but affection dwells in black and white the same. My aim, the renewal of my mind, to unwind that which I had feared, had not come to pass. The task, I will no longer be lonely, keeps me alive, drives me to true friendship with my neighbors. Good neighbors close the doors of hate, opens the doors of love, solves the quest of indifference, bring radiance of togetherness. We keep smiling. That's what neighbors are for. The pillars of uncertainties finally collapses between neighbors. We advance, our kids come together. Border lines of colors are broken. We are awoken to love. Love becomes our reference. Here in the neighborhood of Coventry, the inventory of a new life, parents are glued into friendship. Relationships are built between neighbors. The naysayers are put to shame. Our labors weren't in vain.
Fabulous. Thank you, Emmanuel. And it's lovely that Coventry features in a poem as well, but obviously I'm biased on that bit. Martin Mallett, you're reading your own.
This poem is called I've Just Moved House. I've just moved house into a new neighbourhood. Didn't know anyone, was a little anxious. I'm on a quiet road at the end of a cul-de-sac. What about the neighbours, I thought. Wonder what they're like. Are they young or old? Do they have children? Are they talkative? Or are they quiet and like to keep themselves to themselves? Keep wondering what the neighbourhood is like. A car pulls up in the drive next door. A man gets out, I introduce myself. And he greets me in that familiar Irish accent. I recognise the face and can tell he recognises me. So we get talking and I find out he's from Mayo, just like my mum and dad. He knows people that I do and we have much in common. He tells me about the neighbours and says how friendly they are. He's lived here a long time and he's been happy here and wishes me happiness too.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Martin. It's always so nice to hear them being read by, especially if they're read by the poet, and it just brings them to life. Okay, Steve, I know I'm reading yours, so I will do that now. This is Several Fields Over by Steve Denahan. Her voice is on the breeze, a distant softness, talking, sometimes singing, several fields over. We have never met, she, a blur, a stranger to me. But I have heard her sing to herself. I have heard her call her children out of the rain into the sun. I have heard her berate and chide and laugh. like the lowing of the cows, the whisper of the grass, the buzzing flies and chirping birds. Her voice is there, stitched into the fabric of the air. Yet, if we were to meet, I suspect, knowing myself as I do, I would not like her, would want to get away from her and she from me. She is out there a few fields away, hanging her clothes, wishing away the rain, and that, for both of us, is enough. So that is Steve's poem. So that was a real pleasure to read that one as well. I hope I did it justice for you, Steve. Next up, we have got Chris Burley.
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. Mine's a very, very short poem. It's about one person, but it's really about the way we all interact with each other and the effect we have on each other. So it's called Our Neighbour. The man next door is 100 and more. When I ask if he's well, he'll say, well, I'm here still. And he still drives his car to the shop. Not far. His family can't come every day. I think he rather likes it that way. He's been here forever, my kind, gentle neighbour. I'll be sad when I can no more say hello to the man next door. Thank you.
Another very poignant one. Thank you, Chris. Okay, I've got Jay Josh's poem, so I'm going to read this one for Jay, who is here, but would like one of us to read it. So this is a poem about a young man called Jay who saved his neighbour called May. And there's some wonderful rhyming in this poem. A young man called Jay heard a young woman called May, who was his neighbour, shouting for help. As Jay ran outside, he could see there was black smoke coming from her house. Jay ran back to ring the fire brigade, who said they would call tomorrow as they didn't work Saturday. Jay knew it would be late for May if he waited for them. He found 2 fire blankets. He wrapped the first blanket around himself and held the other in his right hand. Jay kicked May's front door down and saw her lying near the bottom of the stairs. He saw a fireball that was travelling down the stairs. Jay wrapped May in the fire blanket before taking her in his arms and ran out of the front door with her in his arms. Jay was relieved to see the fire brigade and the ambulance service had arrived to take care of May, and Jay and her were both taken to hospital. Jay was given the all clear by doctors. He went to see if May was okay. Jay could see May was okay, and May thanked Jay for saving her life. Jay told her there was no need to thank him. Jay told May, I will come and pick you up tomorrow when you get discharged from the hospital. Jay gave May a safe place to stay in his house because hers was damaged in the fire. May thanked Jay for giving her a place to stay. Jay went back to the hospital to pick May up from there. He gave May's carrier bag, which had a red dress and new shoes, which Jay bought for May because Jay knew May's clothes were all burnt in the fire. May thanked Jay for his kind gesture. Jay waited outside whilst May changed into the new red-coloured dress and new shoes. Once May was ready, they left the hospital. As they headed to the car park where Jay's black Golf was parked, Jay unlocked both before opening the doors and sat down before closing and put both their seatbelts on before starting the car. Jay asked May on the way home if she minded if they stopped off at the fish and chip shop because they were both very hungry. Jay arrived while May sat in the car. The shop was empty. There were no customers waiting to be served. Jay was able to get 2 portions of fish and chips. Jay paid, left the shop and returned to the car and opened the driver's door and passed the carrier bags to May to hold. Within a few minutes, Jay and May arrived at Jay's house. May was upset and had tears running down her face. May saw the smoke damage of the fire. It would take a few weeks to fix the damage. Jay opened his front door with his key, turned the light on, and May followed him into the house before he closed the front door. Jay and May sat at the kitchen table and both enjoyed their fish and chips. Jay worked as a builder and offered to fix and repair May's house to allow May to live there again. He did not take any money for the work he did in May's house. Jay and May were not only neighbours, but became fantastic lovers and got married. Once Jay had got May's house ready to live in, May invited him for a cup of tea and piece of cake. And isn't that how all the best stories should end, with tea and cake? So thank you, Jay, for sending that one in. That's really lovely. And again, I hope I read that okay for you. First up, I will kick us off with Christine Stafford's poem. And this made me feel teary when I first read it, so I'll have to not cry in the middle of the Zoom. But this is called The Missing Piece. Sunlight gleamed through the conservatory windows and bounced off the wrought iron table that lay within. On it, an unfinished game of chess that Leah had played with Lynn. Over the garden fence, neglected grass stood high, nettles choking the vegetable patch, and Leah began to cry. No more casual conversations with her neighbour, her friend. This was not how their story should end. But a virus had robbed them of a future to come, and a sense of deep mourning had left poor Leah numb. She could see in her mind's eye the winter before, when a wreath of holly had hung on Lynn's door. Then a spring where Lynn's wreath were not ones she'd see. A life cut so short, how could this be? The house once so full was now up for sale, and the letterbox basket held an open mail. Leah saw in her mind's eye her friend at the line, or polishing windows to make them all shine, singing out loud in a voice that was flat, doing her press-ups on an exercise mat, taking her grandchild to the nearest playground and waving to Leah as the two came around, drinking their tea as the child was at play, two friends discussing what had happened that day. Leah looked at the table and the unfinished game. Without her friend there, life would not be the same. For the Queen had now gone, the main missing piece, forever remembered, forever at peace. I think that's so poignant in a time like this. So Christine doesn't have Zoom, but she's going to watch the recording of this. Thank you. That's really lovely. She'll appreciate your applause there. Okay, next up, could we have Judith Roberts, please?
Here we go. My poem is very short. I'm one of Dave's students. My poem is very short, but to me very poignant. It's called Helping Hand. A bloody nosebleed out of the blue. I really don't know what to do. I knock the wall and Suk is there. It's not something she wants to share, but there she is, set to help. We're worlds apart. I'm feeling shameful. Blood's really mucky. Her work's hard labour, but I'm very lucky to have such a neighbour. Thank you.
Wonderfully read. Thank you, Judith. Fantastic. Okay, next up, can we have Alan Wales, please?
This is a poem called People. People, eh? People with their problems and petty paranoias. People with their problems and petty paranoias and worries. People with their problems and petty paranoias and worries and stupid niggling hates and people pains. Well, people are a pain in the bum, a stab in the back, a fib or a lie. I lie, I do. I say hi to people, but I mean die. Die, people, go away, leave me alone, get your face out of my space. The human race, eh? Oh yeah, like what a concept, what a joke, what a sick joke, what a sick tragic joke. It's too tragic to be funny. Then I think, why am I rolling around the floor in hysterics? It's not tea time. Ah, I know what it is. People, I mean, you've got to laugh at them, haven't you? Eh? Ah, well, back to work, I suppose. Back to people. Send in the next patient, please, Miss Fleming.
It's brilliant, hilarious, and wonderfully performed. Thank you, Alan. Super. Anthony Huan. Thank you. So sorry, Joe. Please continue.
Okay. Good neighbours and bad friends. They give me a room now, a sanctuary. Not too big, but I'm grateful for small mercies. I got a bed and a window and a stove to cook and a place to keep me clothes. They give me a little money and some vouchers for food. I'm not afraid, I'm waiting for me papers to come. I've been here a week now, most people is nice. One lady give me a pan, another bring me some chicken soup and some bread. I had to wash the door Monday, it was dirty and smelled. I'm not afraid, I'm waiting for me papers to come. The door rat-a-tat on Tuesday, nobody there, but I hear footsteps run, maybe somebody just having fun. A pigeon dead on the step, ruffled feathers, bit of blood, I place it in the bin. I'm not afraid, I'm waiting for me papers to come. A parcel come Wednesday, push through the door. I open it quick with anticipation. Have my papers come? It's just dog shit wrapped up. I dropped it and had to scrub the rug. I'm not afraid, I'm waiting for me papers to come. On Thursday, I see him first and chase him back to his home and rat-a-tat that door. Lady in a dressing gown and slippers looking tired. I said, look what your boy done. He don't frighten me. And I lift up my dress right there on the step and show her the scar that the bullets left. She crying and invite me in saying sorry over and over, and he's not a bad boy. He just fell in with bad friends, and I put my hand in and said, stop, stop, stop. Surely friends should be good, not bad. Bad is for enemies. And she asked me in and made a cup of tea. Every problem in the world can be solved with tea. And she called in her boy, and I showed him the scar, showed him the wound, and he squirmed. You think a bit of dog shit gonna scare me? They took my baby before it was born. Took my husband, took my son, took me for a toy. But I'm not afraid, I'm waiting for me papers to come. And we sat on her sofa. Tears dilute the tea, and she hugged me. The first hug I'd had since that day. And she asked who it was that had done that to me. It was my neighbours. Educated women make them afraid. She smiled. Neighbours? Neighbours should be good, not bad. Bad is for enemies. But I'm not afraid. Me papers have come. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. That's beautiful. Great narrative in that one. Okay, next up we've got Paul Bowler.
Mine is slightly different. It's called Earth and Venus, which are neighbours. So here we go. Earth and Venus. One is a delicate sprite of blue and grey. The other, an enchantress veiled in white, who men have sought to conquer. And while Earth promotes nurture and growth, beneath her temperate, glowing exterior, Venus is unwelcoming, inhospitable. These neighbours in our solar system are celestial twins, some have said, because of their similar size and mass. When microbes were discovered on Venus, scientists on Earth became excited that once she may have supported life. Imagine this source of 1,000 myths. The star of morning and evening was like our own world once. What of her people, if any? Practical beings, a bit like ourselves, or creatures we couldn't even begin to comprehend? Did they look to the skies as we do, wondering about life over there, make plans to explore the world next door? And when their climate turned hostile, gradually consuming their world of 2 continents, did they seek to escape its destruction? Questions to which we may never have an answer, but Earth sends Venus expensive gifts, probes, in the hope that one day she'll reveal something of her past. And thank you. I've just read that from an earpiece that I was a bit hesitant at times, but hopefully it went all right.
You read it wonderfully, Paul. I was just going to say actually that one, we loved that poem, we loved the different take on it, but two, I remember your performance very well last year because it was when we first met and you performed for the first time reading Braille, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't get a Braille copy this year, so this was an alternative sort of thing that I did, but it seemed to work okay anyway. So
that was super. Thank you so much. It's Caroline Davies next. So this is The Boy Next Door. He hates the sun and loves the rain. I see him getting soaked again. Raptured in precipitation, loving his unique location. I hate the rain and love the sun, watching people having fun. Feel the rays upon my face, delighting in my happy place. He's the yang to my yin, when he's out I am in. Our paths have never yet collided, our fates were long ago decided. Neighbours forever and frozen in time, will my sweetheart ever be mine? No Romeo or Juliet, no Bonnie or Clyde. Is this the love story? I will let you decide. The end, my conclusion, a time to take stock. I am the girl who loves the boy in the old weather clock. All good. Thank you, Milan. Okay, Marjorie Tavistock, Converging Paths. You see him, a stranger, a young man-child weeping in the street, shoulders bent with tears streaming down his sobbing face. You go to him, you talk with him. He puts down his phone and blows his nose and stands up straight. He says, it's all so hard these days. And you tell him it will pass. He thanks you from deep within. His heart is softened by your care and adds that he has just spoken with his mother who used exactly the same words. It will pass. As you part, your heart feels broken by the enormous pain surrounding each of us today, and after a while, you return to your own path, and someone sees you, a stranger, a woman child, weeping on the street. So thank you, Marjorie. Another really beautiful one with a great refrain there. Okay, next up we have Pete Longdon. So
okay, this is called Skin. Do they have time on their hands for their thoughts as they sit on their hands to warm them, legs crossed, perhaps wondering where they will be tonight? If comfort be found, how will they dream? To lose themselves in those of childhood, false security pulls them, leads them into and out of where they once lived, in autumns past, skins the trees of their outer coating, leaving behind its skeletal remains, skin the knees of those who climb them, young, lithe, limbered limbs against the elders, awkward in their youthfulness, scraping the hard strength of wooden skin. Skin the fruit of scrumping pleasure, taste the sweetness of the heart of the illicit harvest. Skin the more illicit stuff, even as it gets under it and cuts through to the bone in malnutrition. Only have it to feed, as under the skin, under the noses, under the radar, a waiting underclass sits, invisible arms outstretched for arms ungiven. Those walking by, thick-skinned against empathy, sympathy, the bounty shy, rejection enough for the frustration to boil over from the soup of destitution into the anger against the systemic neglect, sixth richest in humanity that doesn't care or provide, not of the forest grown through the skin of acorns, yet they are part of someone's family tree, far away, not near neighbours, the doorways, though not their own, they have neighbours, not always the ones who care or share. Those who are core of society look down as they pass on those they see as the rotten core of the community. Are they begging for it? How they are treated and ignored, falling through the welfare cracks they sit on, wrapped in all they can, all they have, a skin cold to the touch, frozen to the bone. Is their life work too much? Hard work for a life. They carry theirs in 2 Sainsbury bags for life. few possessions or rewards to show for the struggle they have made and will make, made hard as trees of their outer skin peeled. Autumn's calling card presents itself to add to the litter shared upon the street. Their knees taut skinned, they sit in wait of succour that rarely comes. From a charitable source, a neighbourly gesture, the thickened skin of insensitivity finally slackens into a gift, repeated as a gif, not just a comic relief, but for a life by the skin of their teeth. They all have roots in someone's family tree, skin hardened against the dispassionate cold of the air and those who pass by, in their blissful, ignorant that a neighbour is there. On the edge where compassion, welfare and charity shudder and waver. Are they husks of life with dry skin, weathered and peeling, or are they neighbours?
Super, thank you, Peter. Amy Morley, can you unmute yourself if you'd like to read, please?
Hi, my name's Amy and I'm going to be reading my poem today that's called Neighbours. We see them every day. Every morning we wave to them awkwardly as we set out for the day ahead. They can be nosy, they can be kind, or they can just be completely annoying at times. But still, we always remember our neighbours because they are part of our story, so close to home. We can loathe our neighbours. I know I have at times. We can even love our neighbours like they are part of the family since we were knee-high, as they pop round for a cup of tea and a chat, or just to see how you are. That's neighbours, part of our lives for a time. We always remember them for being part of the neighbourhood.
Beautifully read. Thank you, Amy. Great to see such a young person joining in as well and writing. That's really lovely, really inspiring.
Thank you.
Next up, Rob Gibbs.
Okay. Sharing walls. Love thy neighbour, as we know. The Bible stated long ago. To have good neighbours nearby is like an angel from the sky. In times of trouble, they are there to lend support and show they care. Displaying much consideration avoids a lot of consternation. Good morning and a friendly smile. Stop and chat for a while. If they misplace their front door key, invite them in for scones and tea. When they go on holiday, check all is well anyway. Give help to others and it's true. They will probably do the same for you. If they're ill, it's not too hard. Send a thoughtful get well card. Even gestures that seem small are worth much more than none at all. It's fine to take, but also give. That world's a better place to live. Let's all thank and also treasure the folk next door who give us pleasure.
Super, lovely sentiments and great rhymes. Yes, yes, Rachel said great rhymes in that, there really is. So next up we will have the fabulous Rachel Burns, please.
Thank you for that introduction. It's a lovely way to spend a Saturday afternoon, this is. Okay, bare windows. The damp wallpaper around the window frame is flecked with black mould. Stacky buttress chartering. A boy in red Wellington boots splashes in puddles in the rain. On the sill, a porcelain Giselle dances arabesque. I wonder, can she reboot from beyond the grave. Outside, the glare of a neighbour's security light, black rain glistens on the tarmac. Inside, the hum of the computer and the monitor's familiar creak. News travels fast along centrifugal wires. Amber warnings, second and third tiers in towns and villages. Rain from the leaky guttering splutters onto the cracked paving below. I used to live in a house with a coal fire and bay windows, in a place where horses ran wild through postcode black spots, where children wept, screaming naked, pressed against glass from abuse and neglect, where no one brought you flowers unless they were nicked from gravestones or some poor bastard's deathbed. Thank you.
Stunning imagery. Thank you, Rachel.
This is My Old Fence by Jack Kerr. The sun comes out and dries wet wood. Dry wood stands where wet wood stood. The rain comes down and wets dry wood. Wet wood stands where dry wood stood. For most of the time I understood that this was neither bad nor good, but most of the time has since elapsed, and my old fence has just collapsed.
Betty and her Winnebago. After Roy died, Betty signed Christmas cards from her and the dog, 1 kiss each. Zumba class on a Tuesday, drank Jaeger bombs at her grandson's 18. Could talk for hours, the sound of petrol in her voice. Betty still kept the accounts polished, along with Roy's biking trophies in the front room, out early and late. Her semi-detached bungalow was small, tiny as Ishmael, swallowed whole by a great whale of curved metal on her driveway. We were always breathless as Betty reversed, oblivious to the potholes. The entire lane watching as she sailed through the shallows past the odd numbers. Our captain in pink tracksuit, pink lipstick, ready for the next adventure.
So, okay, this is Oscar's poem, the title of which is A Good Neighbour. A good neighbour is family. She's fast to lend a helping hand in times of need. She quickly responds when called for, when an emergency arises and there's need for a car. A good neighbour will provide transport. And clothes are left out on the hang line and there's nobody home. She doesn't let them get wet. Sorry, there was a spelling mistake. When the rain comes, off she takes them. Sometimes mum and dad take long before they come back home. As a good neighbour, she gives us food and shelter when we come back from school. A good neighbour is a guiding friend. She advises and counsels, loves and cares. When she sees an injustice being done, she always intervenes. At home, when we have a function, she helps with the work and does all that has to be done to ensure a colourful day. She's a third leg on a tripod, and she stands with us in times of sadness and happiness, and at all occasions with us she stands. A true definition of a neighbour, that's what she is. That's it.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Oscar. Jack Cooper.
Hi, just let me know if I'm too quiet. I'm in like this weird soundproof pod at work. It's like playing havoc with my senses. Okay, this is Screen of Saints and Angels, which was inspired by John Hutton's glass engravings in Coventry Cathedral. The city has sickness round its neck like a ring road, or concrete talk. The city has 4 cathedrals, buried, bombed, abandoned, and now this tower block, which I watch from my window for 4 long months, seeing a saint in every flat, a miracle each day. Disease driven away without a touch, but with a quiet night, another cup of tea. The city is kept safe by ordinary people, not seeing how the angels sing their praises.
Another beautiful one with wonderful imagery. Jack, thank you so much. Great way to finish off our readings. Now, obviously, bear in mind, you've only heard like a third of the ones that we went through, and I have absolutely fallen in love with all of them all over again today. So thank you so much. I can't tell you how much it means to us that you take the time and the effort to send in your wonderful poems.
Judge's choice then. A lady called Yi Jung Chen, who can't be with us today, can't join us, so that's a judge's choice. Jack Cooper, I guess we just heard from. Joe Reynolds, another judge's choice. Jack Kerr, again, who can't be with us today. Ojo Tay, I hope I've pronounced that right, T-A-I-Y-E. And lastly, I think Amy Clennell. Yep.
Congratulations. Oh, yeah, we've got one more there, Colin.
Oh, one more, sorry, I just found it on my list. You obviously had such a great time choosing these, didn't you? Although it's a hard time. Yeah. Margaret Eddershaw. So that's the judge's choice.
Fantastic. So you'll go at the front of the booklet. Alongside those in the booklet, we had a joint third place again this year. We had to do it last year. Another Coventry poet, Russ Berry, and somebody who is here with us today from a bit further afield, Stephen Denahan, for several fields over. So well done, Steve, third place. And second place we have got with Betty and her Winnebago, Olga Dermot. Well done, Olga.
That was great, yeah.
Super. And Colin will arrange getting the prizes to you three, as well as the person that Dave Copson is going to reveal for us now.
I'm not going to do one of those things where they say and the winner is and wait for 5 minutes while you get frustrated. It gives me great pleasure to say that the winner of this year's Poetry Award goes to Joe Reynolds for Good Neighbours and Bad Friends. Well done, Joe.
Congratulations, Joe.
Well done, Joe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So thank you to everybody. I don't know if Dave, as the guest judge, would like to say a final word.
Well, I think that I've got a lot of my students who've entered poems, and of course I've been at great pains, they'll all tell you that, to say, don't tell me anything about your poem, I don't want to know about it, don't even discuss it. If we're in class, don't talk to each other. And they were all very good, they never, and one said, yeah, but you'll know our poems when you see them, and you know I didn't. I absolutely didn't. When I came to read the two poems that Joe had sent in, I didn't know it was Joe. I just knew they were two fantastic poems, and I'd marked them out straight away for my long list and then short list. And Kate, who was one of the other judges, not able to join us today, she came on and said, oh, that poem, Joe's poem, the one that's just won, is superb. And it really got to her. And I said, well, I think that's a fantastic poem. I'd pick that one as well. So two fantastic poems, Joe. I was just as happy to have chosen your Villanelle, which was a super piece of work.
Thank you.
And anyway, it is absolutely a delight to say that you've won this year. So you're in exalted company. So far, I've only come runners up, so you've done better than me. Well done. Okay. So
students become the master.
Yeah, well done, Joe, indeed. Superb.
Thank you. Can we have one final round of applause, and we'll do it all in one go, for all of you that are here today, all of you that read your poems, all of you that submitted them and are going to have them in the anthology, and our final winners and runners up. And also a huge thank you to Colin, Scott and Mary Fitter from Positive Images Festival, who make this happen every year. So you're welcome to unmute yourselves to do a round of applause. That's absolutely fine.